What is a goal? Basically, a goal is a vision for your future. But goals have deadlines. However, your homeschool goals' deadlines won't be until the end of your entire experience. When your kids are adults and they're sitting around the dining room table discussing their childhood together and with their spouses, what do you want them to say about the homeschool experience? Is it something you would love for them to pass on to their own children? Think about that for a minute, then let's talk about it. Hey guys, it's Tani from Mrs. Mom's Homeschool, and welcome back to my channel. But if you're new here, I make videos to help you on your homeschooling journey. Homeschooling, it's the most important, beautiful, rewarding, frustrating, self-sacrificing, wonderful, memory-making, challenging thing that I've ever done in my entire life. And I wouldn't change it for the world. I mean, we get to be the ones to teach our kids how to read, how to do math. We get to see their eyes light up when they've learned something that really piques their interest, or be there to discover and learn with them when they have all these questions that you've never even thought of. You get to choose the books they will read, what they will learn, and what resources you will use to teach them. We don't have to ask what they did today because they were with us all day. When they have friends, we get to know those children and we know their parents and sometimes the grandparents, aunts and uncles, making it easy for tight-knit family friendships to evolve. Our kids are free from bullying, social media if we choose not to give it to them, the agendas that are placed on them by other people. They're free to be who they are and not be forced to conform to be just like everybody else. But homeschooling isn't for the faint of heart. We have kids, some of us have kids that have trouble learning. Some of our kids have special needs, or maybe we have special needs. Some of us have ADHD ourselves and it's hard for us to stay on task. We lose our patience. Sometimes it's hard to get the kids engaged. Sometimes they get so frustrated or they miss their friends and they want to go to school like everybody else that they know outside of the homeschool world, which is, by the way, why it's very important for you guys to have a strong homeschool community, which I'll get to later. Our kids sometimes struggle to find meaningful relationships, and sometimes we feel isolated ourselves and can't find friendships within our community. We wonder if we're doing enough with them. Are they getting the best education? Should we actually send them to school? Because that's how it's always been done. Are we damaging their future? Friend, I'm here to tell you that if you've decided to homeschool, you are doing the absolute best thing for your child, and you are not alone. Even if you don't have an in-person community, you do have a community here on YouTube, you have a community here on my YouTube channel, on my Facebook group. You have so many different resources that you can go to find that community aspect and the support that you need, and we'll talk more about that later on in this video. I am on both ends of it. I do have a child who goes to public school after being homeschooled, and then I have two that are homeschooled. So now, how do we get you confident enough and continue with this plan and this decision and this choice that you have made to homeschool your children? Well, that's everything I'm gonna address today as I give you 10 tips to having the perfect homeschool experience. Step 1, realize that there is no perfect homeschool experience. That's why I'm using the quotes, okay? We're gonna use these quotes whenever we can refer to it as a perfect homeschool experience. This holds true for life in general. In the Bible, it tells us that we're gonna have trials of many kind. And that doesn't change just because we're homeschooling, we're keeping our kids home. That doesn't mean your kids are gonna be perfect. Doesn't mean they're not gonna be exposed to certain things. Doesn't mean they're not gonna be bullied. Doesn't mean that they're not gonna have trouble fitting in. It doesn't mean that anything is going to be perfect, but there are things that we can do to help make this experience as pleasant and joyful as possible for our children and for ourselves. You're gonna see picture perfect Instagram pages. You're going to see YouTube videos that make homeschooling look so heavenly. Guys, it is edited. All of it is edited. We put out here what we want you to see based on the topic of our video. For example, look how neat and pretty my classroom looks, right? Now look over to this side of the table. It's not too bad because I did just clean it up, but this entire table 5 minutes ago was a hot mess. And the only reason why I cleaned it up isn't because like 30 minutes my in-laws are coming over. And so got to kind of tidy it up for the in-laws, especially having a homeschool room. You know, not everybody's on board with the homeschooling. But otherwise this whole table was a really big mess. It always is because it's my homeschool room and our dining room. It is what it is. Step 2. Okay, now that that's out of the way, now that you understand there's no perfect homeschool experience, you're gonna have trials, you get that, you understand that, let's move on to step 2. Step 2 is to create goals for your homeschool. First, you have to think about what is important to you. Is it academics? Is it friendships? Is it experiences? Is it social, what is it called? Community service opportunities? Is it getting real world experience in a career that your child loves? Is it protection from something that happened to them in school, or something you're scared will happen to them in school or could happen to them in school? Are you homeschooling because your kids have special needs and it's important for them to learn a certain way? Why are you homeschooling? What is important to you? Keep that in your mind and put it on the shelf. And now let's focus on your children. What do they want out of this experience? What would make it joyful for them? What are they having a hard time? Did you pull them out of school and now they're having a hard time because they're missing their friends, and their friends are telling them that they're missing out, and all this nonsense that you know is not true, right? But they feel that way because they're listening to their friends, because their friends aren't being able to homeschool. Give those kids an opportunity to see what we do, and they're most likely gonna change their minds. Homeschoolers have this misconception that all we do is sit at home in front of the computer ever since the pandemic, where all kids were doing virtual school. That's what lots of people think that homeschooling is, and we know better. So yes, when thinking of your goals, don't just think about what you want, think about what your kids want, because think about it, guys, we're doing this for them. We are not doing this for us. Sometimes we can have selfish reasons, and it makes us feel better that they're home because we don't have to worry about them being out there. But in reality, we're homeschooling them for their futures, for their lives, for themselves. So they should have a say in how they want it to look. You don't want them to have any regrets in the future, right? Which is why my oldest is in school. Didn't want her to have any regrets. So you want to make sure you speak with your children, see what you guys want, maybe have a family meeting, and start your goals from there. Okay, so step one, we talked about realizing that there is no perfect homeschool experience. Step two, we discussed having some family goals for your homeschool. And now in step three, we're gonna dive a little deeper into the little details, and we're gonna talk about curriculum. When starting your homeschool experience, even guys, if you're have been into it for 5 years or longer, it doesn't matter how long you've been homeschooling, it is super important to pick the right curriculum, even if that means you have to switch out of it like 700 times. The reason why I have so many curriculum choice reviews on this channel, if you go on my playlist, you'll see, I don't know, maybe like 60 different videos on just reviews of different curriculum that we've tried with my first child when she was homeschooled, because I had to find the math that suited her, or I had to find the language arts that fit her perfectly. And if I had the YouTube channel before when we first started, you would have seen even more reviews on different things that we tried that are not even on this channel, because we had to go through different things just to see which ones fit her needs. And then when we moved on to homeschooling, the second one, and my kids are each at least 4 years apart, we just carried on whatever the first one was using, unless it really didn't work for them. So at one point, 2 of my children were doing completely different maths because that's what was best for them. Now they're doing 2 completely different sciences and history, and that's okay, because we have to fit their needs, think about their ages, their grades, their interests, their learning styles, and find a curriculum that works for you. We had to cut out a lot of different math programs because it was making my kids cry every day. If there is a curriculum that is making your kids cry, or a subject that's making your kids cry, it's time to look at that curriculum choice and think about trying something different, because some things are too frustrating for children. Maybe math is not your subject or your child's subject, and that's the subject that's making your kids cry. There's so many math programs out there, like Life of Fred, Matthew C, but there's just so many. I haven't tried any of those, and the Good and the Beautiful Math is one that we use, that are more geared to having kids enjoy math, versus Becca or Singapore, which are more like hardcore math programs that are really great programs, but may not suit your child who's crying every day. Now, before I forget, in the description of this video, when you're done watching this video, I'm gonna link a whole bunch of different videos based on the different topics that we've discussed, like why we chose different maths and different playlists and different things that I talked about, so that when you're done this video and you have some free time, you can go binge watch the others before committing to anything. Step four is to think about the social aspect of homeschooling. I really hate the misconception that homeschoolers are unsocialized. However, it can be true. It can be true that some homeschool kids are unsocialized and may come off as socially awkward because they're not exposed to enough social experiences. So if you find that you are an introverted person, or your children are, it's time for you to take a step for them and help them find those friendships. So let's talk about different ways that you can help yourself and your children find friendships, because mama, it's important for you to be part of a homeschool community as well. For you, you're an adult. It may not even be easy for you. Like I said, you may be a very shy person, but you can find friendships in the same areas where I'm gonna talk about right now, but you can also go online to Facebook groups. You can join YouTube, in my YouTube channel. If you go through the comments, you can meet people from there. You guys always have me. You can find a homeschool community online where you can get to know other moms, ask questions, get advice, and find groups in your area and help you not to feel alone. And they can also help to connect you with other groups in the area as well. So no, children don't need to be in the same classroom 6 hours a day with the same age group, learning the same thing at the same time, with one teacher, and it's just complete chaos. That is not what I mean. However, friendships are important, especially when you get to ages 12 and up. Friendships are extremely important. I find that these are the ages and grades where kids want to go back to school, or they want to try school in the first place because they're craving those friendships, because they were created by God and built at this time during their tween years to start separating from family and building important friendships with other children. Now, if they're home all the time, that's really hard to do unless you are making it happen. So how do you find them? So when they're little, it's pretty easy. When my oldest daughter was little, I would take her to the playground. I had no homeschool community. We weren't part of a homeschool co-op yet or anything like that. So I was thinking, like, how am I gonna get this kid some friends? So I would go to the local playgrounds every single day after school. And we met this one father and daughter, and these girls became like best friends. And me and the father became good friends as well. I became good friends with his wife. He became good friends with my husband just by meeting at the playground verbally, before we even exchanged information. Verbally met at the playground every single day after school. So when that child was off of school, for public school, we were there at the playground ready to meet with her so the girls could play together all the time. Then we would do Easter activities together, and we would do different events together. So that was a big part of my daughter's childhood, growing up before we even had co-ops. So if you see your kids connecting on the playground with other kids, immediately find that child's parent and ask for a play date. Ask to get their phone number or their Facebook or something, some way to connect with them so you guys can meet up again at the same place or do other things. If your kid is connecting with somebody, that's the way you grab those parents and you get a hold of them. You have to put your shyness aside and do this for your child, because they need you. They need you to help them when they're little, when they don't have experience talking with kids all day long and making friends, especially if your child does not want to go up to another kid and say, hey, you want to play? My kids never were like that. Church is another way to get your kids involved with other kids. And I know how it is because I volunteer for the youth ministry with the children, and I know that sometimes these kids, they're there in this big group and they get lost in the group and they don't have any friends. But if you find out that your child does have a friend, you can tell them, like, if you make a friend, you tell me. So what I did one time with my son was, during youth, he met this one kid, and every time I would come pick him up, he was always playing with this one child. So I waited until I asked the youth leader who the parent was, and I waited until that kid was picked up. We exchanged numbers, and now they go to Sunday together, church, and Wednesday youth, and they spent Halloween with us last year. And sometimes I babysit, and sometimes we just try to get the boys together to have their time together inside of church and outside of church. We'll even text each other, is so-and-so going to church this morning? That way we can have them sit together. But it's always about you helping your kids make friends until they've developed these friendships. And they just grow up with these kids, and then you can just kind of sit back and watch the fruit of your labor just grow. Co-ops. I know you guys don't like, some of you guys don't like this word, but co-ops are, for us, co-ops have been the biggest thing in our homeschool has been our homeschool co-op. We just joined the second one 3 years ago, but the first co-op that we've joined, we've been there for like 12 years now. My daughter, who is no longer homeschooled, is still friends with some of her friends from her old homeschool co-op. Some of the kids who went back to school or went to high school for the first time, they go to school together. So that was kind of neat. If you are part of a homeschool co-op and you are the one who sits at the table at lunch, you sit by yourself, you just eat with your kids, and your kids eat with you, and they're not really socializing, you're not really socializing, mama, it is time to change that. If your children need friends, and if you need friends, you need to be a little bit more assertive in trying to make friendships. You have to talk to other moms. Sometimes you might have somebody come up to you. Continue to make those friendships. Everybody's on Facebook. If you're on Facebook, you can connect with those homeschool moms on Facebook. Comment on their pictures more often. Send them private messages. The same thing, stalk those kids that your kids are hanging out with and go up to their moms and ask for play dates. I did this so much. I created a beautiful community for my two oldest children this way. My son is still the kids that he met when he was like 4, he's still friends with now. He's actually playing online with them right now. One good friend is all you really need. You don't need to have 55 friends. You know, that's fun for some people, but one good friend is all you really need. Also, don't be afraid to go to other moms. If you see a kid that's popular, that has like tons of friends because they've been in the game for a long time, they've been going to the co-op for a long time, go up to their mom and ask them, can you please have your child, invite my child to sit with them at lunch, or invite them to join in that game of tag or whatever, because that's something I've done too, and it does help out. These parents want their kids to connect just as much as you want your kids to connect, and they want their kids. You know, most of these co-ops are homeschool, they're Christian co-ops, and we're taught to love one another and accept one another. So it's a great opportunity for those kids who are not shy to bring in the kids who are. Okay, enough about homeschool co-ops. What other ways can you make friends? Sports, American Heritage Girl, Trail Life, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, service opportunities, church events, whatever group things you can think of, get involved. The point is to be creative, look at who your kids are connecting with, step out of your shell to help teach your kids to get out of their shell, because in the long term, it's gonna be really rewarding for both of you, or all of you, depending on how many kids you have. Okay, step 5 to having the perfect homeschool experience is to have some fun. How can you incorporate fun into your homeschool days? Girl, there are so many ways that you can add fun into your homeschool. You can do nature studies. You can join co-ops. Those are fun. You can have field trips in the co-ops or with groups of friends and other people that you meet. You can add poetry tea time on Wednesdays. You could do nature studies on Thursdays, or you could do fun Fridays. You could start the morning with read out louds or fun games. You could take homeschool outside. You could have them jump on the trampoline or play in the backyard for recess during the homeschool day. You can add more crafts, more educational games, fun videos. Find a great curriculum that has that stuff in it already, so you don't even have to like think about it. Basically, just balance your academics with fun. Step 6 to the perfect homeschool experience is to have a vision for what you want your homeschool day to look like, and have your children's input on what they would like it to look like as well. Ask them, what do they want to learn? Interview them. Ask them what will make things fun. What is something they have always wanted to do? What are some field trips that they want to go on? What would they like their homeschool day to look like? And what do you want your homeschool day? Because you're teaching too, you gotta be happy too. What do you want your homeschool day to look like? Keep that vision in your head. Hold on to it loosely though, because more than likely it's not gonna happen exactly as you have planned. And you don't wanna be all disappointed and fighting with your kids because your vision isn't coming true. But the days that it does come true and you have almost perfection, bust out that camera and take 1,000 pictures and videos and put them up on the wall. And remember that it can be this way, and it won't be this way all the time, but there is a possibility that you can have your perfect vision. Just hold on to those memories. Make a lot of memories, guys. Seriously though, make a lot of memories, because this is what it's about. This time is fleeting. It's so fast. It goes by so quick. I go back to some of my oldest videos where my daughter, who's 7 now, was a baby, and I'm making videos for you guys on how to homeschool with a toddler, and the kids in seventh grade and 3rd grade now. And like my oldest, when she was little and she was still homeschooled and she's no longer homeschooled, like just having those memories, just make the best. Don't waste your time yelling at them during the homeschool day. Don't waste your time getting frustrated with them. It's not worth it. You don't want to remember those things. You don't want them to remember those things. Make it fun, make it joyful, because this time, even though when you're in it, it's hard, it's tough, it's frustrating sometimes, guys, you're gonna remember those bad times. Instead of remembering the bad times, you want to remember more good times. So whatever's making you yell, whatever's getting you frustrated, find a way to fix it and make it better, so you don't have to have any negativity coming into this experience. You're gonna have your days, or maybe you're gonna be PMSing. You're a PMSer like I am, where I am not a nice word when I am in that mood. Maybe you shouldn't do school that day, or maybe you should just let the kids like hang for a few hours in the morning. Do whatever you need to do to keep your frustration and your anger in check, because you will feel those feelings, but you need to learn how to control them, which also teaches them how to control theirs. Okay, now that I almost cried on camera, let's move on to step 7. Step 7 is to make a schedule or a daily rhythm for your day. A rhythm is more like a flow. I have tons of videos on schedules and rhythms and all that, and I'm gonna be making a new one on how I currently schedule our homeschool days, weeks, months, and our year. But for now, if you go into the description, you're gonna find a list of videos that you can check out as well. You may most likely need to tweak the schedule a ton of times before you laminate it and stick to it. Have it on paper, go through a week, a month, and figure out what works, what doesn't work, what can you take out, what can you add, and then you can laminate it and put it up on the wall. You have to decide, like, what time do you want to start? What time do you want to end? That's the big question. What time do you want to end? Thinking about what time do you want to end, how many subjects are you teaching? Are you able to end within that time frame if you finish the entire lesson, no matter, like, are you going to finish the entire lesson even if it takes the kids 2 hours of frustration to finish math? Or will you set a timer for 45 minutes and have them do math, and no matter how much they've gotten done, you stop it there? In my experience, that's the best way to do it. Set a timer and have them race the timer, because you want them to get the lesson done, right? But you don't want them doing it for 2 hours and then it just ruins the whole day, because now, like, you know how it is, guys. It's like a domino effect. It ruins. I don't even want to get into it. I'm sure you guys already know how it is, but I got frustrated just talking about it. But I've learned this year that setting a timer is best. That it's not the end of the world if they don't finish all the curriculum or if they don't finish it in time. Like, yes, like certain subjects like math has to be finished, but like literally like the last week of summer vacation, we finished our last lesson in math. So it will eventually get done. So have a timer and have them beat the timer, because kids can be competitive, right? So have them try to beat the timer and get their lesson done in that time frame, the time frame they're supposed to get it done. But if they don't make it the end of the world, just move on to the next subject, because by then their brains are probably fried and they're not going to get it done at that time anyway. All right, step 8 is to find subjects that you can group together, some family subjects that you can do together. This could be your morning basket time. This could be your history or your science units. And this won't be too hard because most science and history units are created family style, where you can do it no matter what age your child is in. You can, and then you can adjust, get different workbooks or different activities depending on if your child's 3 or 13. Step 9, your homeschool space. Creating a homeschool space that works for you and your family. When we first moved into this house, this entire room, I'm gonna show you right how big this room is, okay? This is my homeschool space now. And that's my formal living room. That's my bedroom. And then that's the rest of the house. I have that sliding door. Thank God it came with the house. Everybody else was over there making noise. This entire space was empty for like a year and a half. There's my studio light making my face look brighter for you. I mean, literally, actually, all we had was this table, because I was insistent that my husband get a table for that Christmas. It was like, we moved in December 19th and we were bringing Christmas to this house because it was such a pretty house and I just wanted everybody over here for Christmas. But I had this table and a bunch of black fold-up chairs. I had nothing else in this room. So when we were homeschooling, all I had were these homeschool carts, these things that everybody has. I had 2 of these. All these books that you see back here, they were in my laundry room. My laundry room. Well, my laundry room has kitchen cabinets all in them, and that's where I store everything, and that's a work in progress right now. Matter of fact, I'm gonna post a picture here. This is what it looks like right now. That's all my storage for all of our craft supplies. It's not even for me, it's craft supplies for the homeschool co-ops that I teach. Anyway, that's where I had everything. So I had these fold-up chairs and I had these little these tier thingies, and I was dragging it over to the other table on the other side over there, and we were just like doing our best. But it was so frustrating because like I spent half the day looking for stuff, looking for the things that I needed, and like, oh, I have this, and I couldn't find it anywhere. So all that to say, you don't need a homeschool room. You just need homeschool organization. You need a place to keep your books. You need a place to keep your crafts, your knickknacks, your pencils, your whatever it is that you're gonna use for your week, for your homeschool days. Have a little space for it. That is your homeschool space. All right, guys, we are finally here to step 10. And that step is to take it easy. Do not try to get it all done. Don't try to be the perfect homeschool mom. It's okay to have bad days. The point is to enjoy the process. Enjoy your children. They're only little for so long. They're only teenagers for so long. Enjoy them at whatever age, whatever stage that you have them, because one day they won't be in your home anymore. One day you will not be homeschooling them any longer. One day all of this stress, all of this creativity, all of this stepping out of your shell is all going to be a memory. And is it going to be a good memory, or is it going to be full of bad memories? That is up to you. Right now, where you are, you have the power to control the future. If you think about it in that way, if you could put yourself in a time machine, you're in the past right now, creating the future that you want for your kids. So do your best, take it easy, breathe, get connected. And I'm gonna have a lot of other videos on how not to let homeschooling take over your home life, your whole life, how to take care of yourself and things like that. Don't freak out that your kids are not gonna be as prepared as public school kids. That is a lie. If you look at the studies, homeschool kids are more successful in colleges. They are more likely to graduate from colleges, and more likely to get into colleges. As long as you're doing everything that I've listed above. I mean, not that my rules are like golden, but you know, they're pretty solid based on history, right? So just do your best for your kids and they will be fine. I promise you that they will be fine. Don't focus on what's happening on Instagram, on the beautiful pictures. These are people's businesses. They have to post the great stuff, right? Don't get, use YouTube as inspiration and Instagram as inspiration and ideas and stuff like that. But don't think that anybody has it perfectly, okay? Because I know that I sure as heck don't, and I know no one else does either. Focus on what is happening in your home, in your life, with your children. Put that phone away for the day. Unless you're using it to take pictures, then put on Do Not Disturb and just use it for pictures, because you have to capture these memories and maybe make a yearbook. I have a video on that too that I'll post for you in the description and in the card above. And just enjoy the experience and make it the perfect homeschool experience for you. Whatever that means to you, you have the power to make it happen. I wish you guys the best of luck. I hope this helped you guys in some way. Thank you so much for watching. If you like, leave me a comment below on what your biggest struggle is in this whole process and all the 10 steps that I've mentioned, which is the hardest for you to follow. Thank you guys again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.